Good, good afternoon. I'm Adolf Mora. I came to Australia on traditional canoe in 2006. Today, I'm introducing our speakers. I am very sorry. I'm sorry we are not meeting in our beautiful 5-star energy office today. And I'm very sad we have missed a lovely Papuan lands. But to tell you the truth, home isolation in West Papua is normal. Not because of COVID-19, but because of Indonesian military. Our first speaker, Mr. Clovis Mwamba. Mr. Clovis Mwamba is the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is where the Secretary-General was killed in suspicious circumstances, just before he was going to present his West Papua motion to General Assembly. Clovis was born in Congo, in the mineral-rich province of Katanga in 1960. He was 14 when the Congo was thrown into chaos by the mercenaries, Western mining companies, and foreign governments. They were manipulating and support Katanga to separate. The Congo first Prime Minister, Patrice Lumumba, was executed in Katanga. Clovis' father was the Minister of Justice and was with Lumumba when Mobutu troops kidnapped him. A few months later, Secretary-General Hammarskjöld was killed while he was flying to Katanga. 40 years later, there was still violence and oppression in the Congo. By then, Clovis was an activist, poet, psychologist, and member of parliament. Eventually, he was jailed for criticizing the government. It was 150 lasers in the morning and 150 lasers in the afternoon. Eventually, he fled and disguised along the Congo River, and he arrived in Melbourne in 2007. Please welcome Mr. Mwamba. Over to you.
Everyone, much has been said about the ill-fated voyage of the nicknamed Mr. H. Even many conspiracy theories have been created, and the cause of the crash is still an ongoing matter. As a Congolese elder and an African Mutu living in Melbourne, I tried different ways of thinking and rethinking those sad facts that have occupied my mind since we were shaken by that tragedy back home in 1961. The airplane crash happened 200 kilometers from Elizabethville, now known as Lubumbashi, where I lived then in the Katanga region. As far as I can remember, that time we had Swedish and Irish blue helmets in Katanga because they were of white skin, and among them us, Colonel Cruz O'Brien, a special representative of the UN Secretary-General Hammarskjöld. Also, on the very day of that ill-fated arrival of Hammarskjöld in Leopoldville, O'Brien launched his rampant operation against mercenaries as he got a green light and a warrant to arrest 5 key Katangese secessionist leaders. Therefore, he begged the UN Secretary-General to call off his meeting with Chombe at their agreed time and place. We, as Bantu, have a culture of numbers. Hence, we live and breathe into numbers. Numbers have their own say and speak to us. I'm number 3 as a male, and my wife is number 4 as a female. Together, as one, as a married couple, we obviously share the number 7, 3 plus 4, and so on. Hence, needless to say, numbers are in our DNA. By digging up facts about Congo, particularly during the hectic days following independence, I gained much insight, including from fruitful encounters with key politicians and high-ranked officers of the army I rubbed shoulders with, as well as the intelligence service officers and Western diplomats in my country. My father-in-law was Deputy Chief of Staff of the Congolese Army at that time and took over the responsibility as Chief of Staff when Mobutu staged his coup d'etat. Later on, my father-in-law became the Chief of Staff of the Katanga Secession Army, so kept dealing with the UN as he used to in Leopoldville. Therefore, for instance, I came across a string of numbers, especially a few run by Congolese secret agents who were deeply involved in those heated events that shaped the face of my country as a Cold War boiling casserole. Those Congolese local agents were living and breathing their codes like cows grazing onto the land of their owner's farm. Those brainwashed and successfully colonized by Belgians became informers against their compatriots and became, after 30 June 1960, CIA's local agents. They lived their secret codes, although numbers are of concern here. The liberal and far-right Joseph Mobutu and the communist Antoine Gizenga, for example, played a critical role as closest collaborator with Patrice Lumumba, the independence leader and first prime minister of the Congo, the independent Congo. But they stabbed him in the back, igniting the so-called Congolese political crisis of 1960 that caused havoc in the world and claimed the date within the same year, 1961, of the Prime Minister Lumumba and the UN Secretary-General Mr. H. Dates like numbers matter in my culture and they equate to fact. They never ever have their own say about the UN Secretary-General Hammarskjöld's airplane fatal crash. Only to date, like twin brothers, may stand as witness and could unveil facts as, for instance, they can over the 13th and the 17th of September 1961. I mean the fatal journey of the UN Secretary-General in Congo. Hence, first, the chronogram of 4 days, the temporal distance of the days between September 13, 1961, the arrival of Hammarskjöld in Leopoldville, and the September 17, 1961, the date of the plane crash. Second, the symmetrical chronogram of 4 days between January 13 and January 17, 1961, up into a parallel one of 13 and 17 in September 1961. Therefore, it leads back to the historic assassination of Prime Minister Lumumba. Mostly those pictured on the photo on the arrival of Hammarskjöld, the UN General Secretary-General in Leopoldville, are the same as those who visit Lumumba, who was caught in the military barracks on the 13th of January 1960 before his assassination on January 17, 1961. I don't like to raise my finger over whoever in Congo, in Belgium, and or throughout the world might have been involved in that ill-fated airplane crash in which the UN Secretary-General lost his life. But with this talk, I wanted to point out that his death has much in common with the assassination of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Congo. Many Congolese from other parts of Congo who lived in Katanga in 1960 as internally displaced persons and who were protected by the Blue Helmet owe their life to Hammarskjöld, and the memories of him are still in their hearts. Being one of them, I remember how deeply we felt his death as our own, but we were prevented from mourning in public and expressing our grief. It's very sad that there is no commemoration, no ceremonies, and no memorial site celebrating the life and contribution of Daga Mashod in Congo. The only official memory of him is a memorial at the plane crash site, 10 kilometers from the town of Ndora on the border of Congo and Zambia. I thank the organizer of this webinar for this opportunity to talk about Daga Mashod, one of my heroes, as he means so much for many Congolese, particularly of my generation. Being asked to speak of Dag at this event inspired me to initiate some form of memorial for him in Congo. This will fulfill the wishes of the assassinated president of the council, Lumumba, that the Congolese write their own history. And when we do, Daga Mashol will be recognized as the true hero of the Congolese liberation from neo-colonialism. I wish the West Papuan success in their struggle for what was Daga Mashol's vision, an independent West Papua free of neo-colonial interference.